The morning of August 24th, 79 AD begins like every other morning in Pompeii. The market opens. Bread is baked. The forum is already busy by mid-morning, merchants arguing prices and tourists examining the temples. Mount Vesuvius is visible from almost every street in the city. It has always been visible. Nobody thinks about it. 2,000 bodies were found in Pompeii. The city had 20,000 people, which means 18,000 got out. Survival was not just possible, it was what most people managed to do. The question is not whether you could have escaped. The question is whether you would have made the right decisions, in the right order, at the right time. The difference between the 18,000 who lived and the 2,000 who didn't was not strength, not wealth, not luck. It was timing. And this morning, the clock has already started. To understand what is about to happen to you, you need to understand where you are. Pompeii in 79 AD was not a small village. It was a prosperous Roman city of approximately 20,000 people, sitting on the Bay of Naples in the shadow of a mountain that its residents have lived beside for centuries. The city has a forum, 2 theaters, an amphitheater, multiple bathhouses, dozens of restaurants, and streets worn smooth by centuries of cart traffic. It is also sitting on top of one of the most dangerous geological formations in the world, Vesuvius. Vesuvius is a stratovolcano, a category of volcano that builds pressure slowly, quietly, over decades, and then releases it catastrophically in a single event. The last major eruption before 79 AD was approximately 1,800 years earlier. Nobody in Pompeii has any cultural memory of what this mountain is capable of. To them, it is just the landscape, just the backdrop. There have been warnings. 17 years earlier, a major earthquake severely damaged Pompeii and the surrounding region. The city spent the following decades rebuilding. Some residents interpret the ongoing minor tremors, there were several in the days before the eruption, as normal seismic activity. A few leave. Most stay. On the morning of August 24th, you are one of the ones who stayed. At approximately 1 in the afternoon, Vesuvius erupts. The initial explosion sends a column of volcanic material, ash, pumice, and gas for an estimated 30 kilometers into the sky. That is 3 times the cruising altitude of a modern commercial aircraft. The column is visible from across the Bay of Naples. A Roman writer, watching from Misenum, approximately 30 kilometers away, describes it as looking like a pine tree, a massive trunk of smoke rising and spreading into the sky. In Pompeii, the sky goes dark. What falls on the city is pumice, small, lightweight volcanic fragments, roughly the size of grapes, raining down from above. Approximately 15 centimeters of pumice per hour is falling on Pompeii during the peak of the eruption. This is your first decision point. The pumice is falling. Roofs are beginning to strain under the weight. The streets are filling. It is now approximately 2 p.m. You have options. You can shelter inside a sturdy building and wait. You can attempt to leave the city on foot through the gates heading south. You can wait until the pumice stops before moving. Each of these decisions leads to a different outcome, and the window for making the right one is already closing. For over 250 years of excavation in Pompeii and its surrounding sites, an extremely detailed picture were assembled, detailed enough to reconstruct not just what happened, but approximately when and to whom. The 2,000 bodies found in Pompeii and its immediate surroundings were not all killed the same way. Analysis of the victims falls into distinct patterns that tell us precisely when and where different people died, and what decisions led them there. The first wave of victims died inside buildings. Roofs collapsed under the weight of accumulated pumice. An estimated 1.5 to 2 meters of material fell over the course of the eruption's first phase. People who sheltered in rooms with weaker ceilings, or who stayed too long waiting for the pumice to stop, were killed by structural collapse. The second and largest wave of victims died from the pyroclastic surges. At approximately 1 a.m. on August 25th, the eruption column destabilized. It collapsed. When a volcanic column that has been projecting material 30 kilometers into the sky loses structural integrity, that material doesn't simply fall. It flows outward from the volcano at ground level, moving at speeds between 100 and 700 kilometers per hour, at temperatures between 200 and 700 degrees Celsius. If you are still in Pompeii when the first surge arrives, you have approximately 30 seconds of warning, a sound, a pressure change, and a sudden darkness before it reaches you. Many of the famous casts of Pompeii victims appear to be in defensive postures. The heat causes muscle contraction, arms raised, knees drawn up. It is not a conscious act. It is the body's involuntary response to extreme heat in the final seconds.
The eruption began at 1 p.m. The pyroclastic surges began at approximately 1 a.m. That gives you 12 hours. 12 hours in which the roads south and east of Pompeii were passable. Dangerous, covered in pumice, but physically survivable if you moved through them. The survivors were not the richest or the strongest. They were the ones who left early. Specifically, the evidence suggests that people who evacuated in the first 4 hours of the eruption had the best outcomes. The pumice accumulation was still manageable, the roads were not yet blocked, the gates of the city were still accessible. The people who waited, who sheltered, hoping it would stop, progressively lost their options as the night went on. By midnight, pumice accumulation had reached 2 meters in some areas, moving through streets waist-deep in volcanic material in complete darkness, with sulfurous gases beginning to concentrate at ground level. There is one more factor the archaeology reveals that matters for your survival calculation. You needed to know which direction to go. The pyroclastic surges traveled predominantly northwest, toward Herculaneum first, then Pompeii. The safest escape route from Pompeii was southeast, away from the volcano, inland, along the road toward New Syria. Survivors who went toward the harbor, looking for ships by boat, faced a sea so disturbed by the eruption that most vessels could not safely depart.
The sky above Vesuvius has just changed. What was a thin plume of smoke an hour ago is now a column that extends further than you can see. People around you are stopping, looking up, pointing. Some are already moving. Some are standing still, watching. Now you have to decide whether to leave immediately or wait and see. The ones who waited to be sure, most of them didn't make it. The ones who left while they were still uncertain, those are the ones who survived. Survival at Pompeii did not require heroism. It did not require special knowledge or superior strength. It required one thing: leaving before you were certain it was necessary.
The city of Pompeii was buried under 4 to 6 meters of volcanic material and was not rediscovered until 1748. For nearly 1,700 years, it simply did not exist in human memory. The buildings, the streets, the forum, all of it preserved exactly as it was at 1 a.m. on August 25th, 79 AD, when the last surge passed over it. The bodies cast in volcanic ash are not monuments. They are moments, specific human beings caught in the specific second they died, preserved in the exact posture of that instant, still there nearly 2,000 years later. The 18,000 who got out left almost nothing behind. No casts, no monuments, no record of their names. History remembers Pompeii's dead, but most people who were there that morning survived. Which means the story of Pompeii is not primarily a story about death. It is a story about what it takes to leave.